Welcome to Conversations with Laurel, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McChargue, and today I have an author with me who is going to rock your world a little bit. Briana Gervat, thank you for being on my show today.
Oh, Laurel, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I read your book, There Will Come Soft Rains, A Journey Along the Western Front, and it absolutely stunned me. I have so many notes in here, but we're going to get into it in a minute. But first, tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about you. Who are you, Brianna?
That's a great question. It's an existential question, isn't it?
Easy,
Well,
easy question.
today I am my name is Briana Gervat, and I am an art historian by trade, photographer, poet, and athlete. And I've always wanted to be a writer, and I've spent my whole life just dedicating myself to the craft and celebrating it and learning more about it and just really going to the depths of what you can write and the human experience.
You are a writer. Let me tell you this. This book is absolutely fascinating. So the year was 2022. I think we can all remember what was happening in the year in 2022, right? Let's call it an inciting incident. What was the inciting incident that led you to the decision to walk the Western Front?
I think we can all say that COVID shook our worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that it was for me, we talked previously about social media and everything else. And I think that it was the whole idea of that people have this basic idea of what history is, and then they pick it apart. They like cherry pick history and attribute history, different parts of history to modern times or anything else like that. And I was like, I learned so much about history and I love history so much that throughout COVID and everything, I learned more about history. I learned about American history, European history, all the kinds of histories, and how it all affects us to this day, and how all of those power dynamics and human experiences really shape the world that we live in, and they continue to do that. And so, I'm living in Southeast Georgia at the time, and I was really all I had a boyfriend at the time, but it was really all by myself because I was away from my family. I had some friends down there. So I really could just sit with the books I was reading and the podcasts I was listening to and just really think about the world.
Yeah. You're totally self-taught. But there was something that made you say, "Oh, I need to get off my couch where I'm reading all this stuff and I need to go do something." What 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 was that spark?
So I follow this really like world-renowned explorer on Instagram, and I was looking at he posted something during the day, and someone responded, "You're back," and it was the Western Front Way. And I just saw those three words. Well, I saw those five words. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean there's a Western Front Way? And I love hiking. I love walking. I love being out in nature. I'm like, what do you mean you can walk a path of peace throughout one of the most cataclysmic times of history and learn more? I was like, this is like it was like a soulmate. Like this was meant for me. This is what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get that. You'll send me the name or the link to the person who has this. Oh, is it called the Western Front?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll have a link to that.
I'll send it to you.
Um, you you're a poet. There's little bits of your poetry throughout the book, which is lovely. And so, of course, you would make up songs along the way. I laughed when I read about that. I used to sing to my ducks, and I used to sing to my trees as well. So I get that. Do you have any recording contracts yet?
No, no, I've
No.
been really waiting and everything. And I totally love the fact that you sing to your ducks and your trees because I do that every day. And I'm like, I feel like was it Mary Poppins or who was it that like, or Cinderella? Like it's like they just or it's Snow White just talking to all the animals. It just
Singing to the birds. Yeah, it's to me those little episodes in your book were little bits of release from the intensity of what you were experiencing. Is
yeah,
that kind of how it felt?
very much so. So I did my master's thesis on Alfredo Yar. And he was a man who, after the Rwandan genocide, traveled to Rwanda like immediately afterwards when the genocide stopped, and he would take photographs, and he would take the most devastating photographs. But then he did a series afterwards, and he said, when I can't look anymore, I look at the sky, I look at the trees, I look at the mountains. And then he exhibited that, and that always stuck with me, because that's what we have to do. Like, not that
Yeah.
you can always look away, but look towards something as well. You can look at the cemeteries, you can look at the memorials, you can look at the battlefields, but what else is surrounding it, and what has grown in spite of it?
Yeah. Yeah. So you walked almost 500 miles, right? What was the total
Yeah.
number of mileage? It's like close to 500
Yeah, give or take, depending on the day and everything. But yeah, for the path, 500 miles.
alone.
Yes.
Did you carry anything for self-protection? You're a beautiful young woman.
I'm also a New Yorker. So
Okay.
I carry myself very much in a very New York capacity. So no, I didn't, because I'm also, as much as I'm a New Yorker, I also lack the upper body strength necessary to fend off anyone. I don't have the army training like you do. So I try not to carry anything that might put myself in greater jeopardy.
And let
So
me just say that there were times when I was reading and you came across people, there were so many people who cared for you and
yes,
who worried about you, right?
yes,
And who
very
and who
much so.
t tell us about a couple of those episodes because I remember the brothers, right?
Yes.
Uh,
So I had just entered the basin of the Somme, and I was looking to a place to camp along the a tributary or the actual river. And I had actually set up my tent. So I put all that, and not that it takes that long to set up a tent, but
hmm.
I found a nice comfy spot. It was like, it was beautiful. And then a mother and a son came around, and they're like, "Oh, be careful. There's les hommes bizarres. Like, there's these strange men around." And I'm like, I haven't seen them, but sure. So they said, please go somewhere a little further away from the main trail. And then they wound up coming back and feeding me and letting me sleep in their yard and giving me a blanket, and then making me coffee in the morning and bringing me croissants. And I was like, thank you, universe, for allowing this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because oftentimes, we fear the unknown, we fear the different, and yet here you are, and these people who didn't know you and probably saw a young, woman out on their own, and they were worried about you. And as a mother, I would have felt the same way.
Yes, my mother was worried, believe me.
I bet, I bet. And now I'm sure she's so proud of you. Oh my gosh, your story is filled with stunning, stunning detail, both beautiful and horrifying. Really. How did you keep track of your experiences?
Thank you. I was walking by myself, and I didn't have connection to the internet. So when you disconnect from the greater world and you connect with the world as it is, I was able to sit with it. So I would spend hours walking every day, and my thoughts move like my steps. And so I was able to really sit with each day and create memories, and observe things that I might not have seen had I been distracted, or thought that I needed to be connected to something outside of myself. So I think that just being able to look back, and then I did take photographs. So I did take many photographs. So I was able, and because I was following a path, not a straight path, but I was following a path. I knew where I was, and the steps that I took and the places that I went. So it was already in my head that that was the way the story was going to unfold. So just being able to revisit it had been a true joy, because I got to experience it over and over and over again, and it made it more beautiful and meaningful.
Wow. So no notebook, no voice memos on a phone?
No,
No? Uh,
no.
incredible. Could I read a passage here
Yeah, I would love
from your
that.
book? All right. I have marked this book in so many places. We could spend all day talking about it, but let me read this. And again, talking about the detail that you put into in some of the horrifying things that you felt while you were going on this journey. And it rained a lot.
Yes.
Watching the rain fall in sheets and torrents, I remembered that it was only September, a time when the rains were still warm and the seasons had yet to change. Waiting out the storm, I wondered what that first September was like during the Great War when all of the soldiers were being told that the war would be over by Christmas, even as they dug trenches, even as they dug their own graves. I'm like tearing up already. Um, Talk about the trenches.
They're haunting, so very haunting, Laurel. I on my first day, I came into the Vosges, not even the Vosges, but I came across the border to kilometer zero, and then you start to see them, and then you start to see the destruction, and you start to see rebar and maybe even some barbed wire, and you come across these trenches, and you think, like that passage that they dug their own graves, that it was a grave of massive size, and that that was what the war was like, and that these men lived and died in these trenches. And I didn't even bring in a lot of the gruesome facts of the trenches, and it was, you can't imagine, or you don't want to imagine, the putridness or the devastation that these men witnessed and were asked to experience all hours of the day and night. And so coming upon those trenches, it's like you want to ignore them, but you can't. So you see these trenches, and the first one I come across, I don't go down. I don't disrupt it. I don't want to disturb it because that's not what I was there for. I wasn't there to relay that. I was there to remember.
Yeah, and again, I had no idea that they're still there. They haven't been filled in, right? They
No,
haven't.
there are many still there, and there's some that are reconstructed, but because the Western Front was so large, and a lot of people after the war, some of them were able to return, some of them were not, so the ground has laid fallow. Like it's not as if it's been revisited, and some farmers tried to go back, but they still come across bodies. and
Yeah.
And so, I think that they just left it where it lies. And I think that France wanted to remember it. I think that, the Great War was a war where the people who lost their loved ones, it was one of the first wars that they really, really, really focused on the burial of these soldiers, or to try to find them and identify them. And that is something good that came out of it.
But the fact that bodies are still being unearthed, as you wrote in there, farmers call it the harvest of bones. The fact that there are still so many unaccounted for, is shocking to me. Yeah.
Yes.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot in this book. And again, I've had a lot of history lessons and, been in the army and a lot, but you wove the historic details into your immediate experiences seamlessly. I mean, I, this is absolutely gorgeous. Um, Again, the things I learned, 12 million letters a week traveled between soldiers and their families during the war. 12 million a week, right? You talk about Tolkien's experience. You have Mata Hari in here. Again, I've marked so many places in here. How long did you research the Western Front before you actually got on a plane and went over there? How much research did you do? Like how much of this book did you have done before you went? Did you even know you were going to write a book?
I knew I was going to write a book. I definitely knew I was going to write a book, because I was going to go. I mean, I've written books before, so I was going over there with the intention of coming out with a book. I didn't know what the book would look like. I didn't know the story that I would tell. There was still a lot of anger surrounding COVID, so I needed to process that, and I needed to process my own personal stories, my own personal histories. So it was one of those. I didn't know where the book would lead. I knew that the Western Front would lead me to the North Sea, but I did as much research as I can. But you like you said, you studied a lot of history. There's only so many books like this thick that you could read before you make a decision in April and leave in August.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So there's a point where you come to I think the first time you actually started to feel a little bit of hope when you came to the Notre Dame de Reims cathedral. Talk to us about that experience because I felt a sense of awe with how you describe that. So talk about the history a little bit about that, the Notre Dame de Reims.
So the Notre Dame de Reims, I had slept the night before. I had been disrupted. My sleep had been disrupted by wild boars in the
Yeah,
night.
yeah, yeah.
And then I walked the 7 miles from where I'd camped out to Reims. And I knew there was a cathedral. I knew it was there. And I was so looking forward to it. And I was just tired and hungry. And then you go to this square, and the cathedral just, it consumes you, and you just sit in front of it, and all, like, as soon as I just cried, Laurel. All I could do was cry. I saw something so beautiful, and then knowing that it was only within the first month of the war that the cathedral was destroyed. It was destroyed. There was nothing left. And they said that within the first night of the Battle of the Marne, that the gargoyles had smelted, all of the sculptures had fallen, the roof had collapsed, and then that had stayed that way for the entirety of the war. That you had something that was built almost 1,000 years before that, and then it was just destroyed in an act of violence. And then they decided to rebuild it. And I just thought that that was such a good indication of what we do as humans, that we are able to destroy so easily. But do we rebuild? And how do we rebuild? And what does that signify?
Mhm.
And so I sat in front of that cathedral for hours, and I go back in my heart every single day to it. And that's where the head of John the Baptist is. No, sorry, that's in Amiens. Um, but you go, and I write that no some small wonder that this is where they crown kings. You feel holy, you feel, and you don't have to be a Catholic to experience that. You don't have
Right.
to be a Christian. You just stand in front of it, and like you said, it's that sense of awe. It it it
Oh,
it
yeah.
it crawls, not even crawls inside of you like a what. I'm a poet. What's the word that, like, it enters you, and you have nothing, no choice but to let it stay there.
Yeah, yeah. It consumes you, it overwhelms you. And I mean there are times in here where you cry and I'm crying with you because and that's hard to do as an author to make people cry, to make people feel as deeply as I felt reading your words. I mean, stunning. So, early on in your book, you say, we have learned no lessons. We repeat all of our mistakes. And near the end, you write, we learn nothing from war except how to do it again and again and again. Throughout the book, I felt reverberations of what's happening right now in the Middle East.
Right.
What can we do?
I think that we think what we can't think of history as one-sided. I think that someone tells a story, and that's the story they tell, and they don't realize that there's, oh, I love your mug.
Mm.
That you look at it one-sided and say, okay, then you're right, and I mean, you're wrong and I'm right. And history is so much more layered and nuanced than that. And I think that I think it's safe to say that with 8 billion people on this planet, that, despite resources and all those other things and pollution, that there is room for us, but we have to find a common ground. And you can't find common ground when you are so stubborn and pigheaded and think that your way is the only way. And that, if you were going to pursue acts of violence, you can't be like, well, why? It's like children. If you have brothers and sisters, well, he hit me, well, he hit me, and it's like this never ending story, and we haven't grown up. And people just still do that as an adults too, so we really can't, like, you can't say anything.
I know, I have often said we have not evolved as a species. And so the fact that you say, we haven't learned. Why not? We have good teachers out there. I mean, you are so self-taught, right? I mean, there's the
I've
access
had good
to
teachers. I've
yeah,
had one. Yeah.
good teachers, and we have access to all knowledge, right? On
Yeah.
the interwebs. It's incredible. Why can't we learn?
because it's
Don't you have
hard.
the answers, Brianna? Do you have the
Laurel, I wish I had the answers. If I had the answers, I probably wouldn't have had to walk 500 miles across the Western Front. I would have been like, like the Buddha sitting underneath the Bodhi tree and being like, listen to what I've learned.
there was
um,
yeah,
was
go
that
ahead.
say? What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say that there was one day where you were almost done. You were tired. You were blistered. You were 16 miles in, and you were finished. Did you ever think you wouldn't finish the whole walk?
Yeah, I thought about it as soon as I entered the Psalm. I felt that way because it was so redundant. It was so, it's like you had the Battle of Verdun, you had the Battle of the Marne, you had the first, second, and third Battle of Ypres. You had we were just talking about the battles waged in the Middle East and everything, and it was just this unending war. And then you get to the Psalm and things start to flatten out, and you're just walking along canals. And like I knew I was doing it, but I also was like, what's the point? What who cares? And I think that we have this despondency when it comes to history. It's almost this nihilism that, it's going to happen. We can't stop it from happening. So who cares? And so yeah, I wanted to stop very much so, but I'm in France and there's food and there's wine. So, you got to keep on going to just have that.
Yes, yeah. And you seem like the kind of person who, if you make a decision, you're gonna do it. You're gonna finish it. You're not a quitter,
No, no, no,
right?
no. If I do something, I do it all the way. If I do something, I go as hard as I can. I can't go halfway. I have to do it the whole way.
Well, I appreciate that you did, and that you brought us this incredible book.
You're making
There
me
will
blush.
come soft rains. I mean, oh, it. There were so many times I shivered with you on this. It's just, I mean, I was with you on this journey,
Good.
and yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that makes me happy because it was a very solitary journey, and it's been a pleasure to connect with people like you to be able to speak about it, and that you share in that and you feel it, and that you don't have to go and walk the Western Front to be made to feel something, and not in a manipulative way, not in a way that is saying, oh, like I said, look what I learned and let me tell you, but hey, I felt this. Maybe you
Right.
feel the same way.
Right. As I said, it's seamless, the history with how you were feeling and your experiences and everything being very real and very raw, and which is why it's incredible that you remembered so much, after the fact. I would have been taking notes. I would have been having my little phone voice app recording everything, and that probably would have taken away from my experience. I think if I had felt tied to having to record everything.
I
Huh.
think that yeah, you're right. I think that you would surprise yourself that maybe on the
Yeah.
first day or the second day you'd want to sit and reflect on what you've experienced,
Yeah.
but just to be there, just to stand in front of the Limes Cathedral, there's nothing that you can write or do or say that would do anything like it would to take away from the experience of actually just standing in the presence of glory.
Yes, yes. You go to restaurants and you see people at tables and they all have their cell phones out and they're together, but they're not together. They're so far apart. Or concerts and everyone is recording the concert, but are they fully experiencing? How can you fully experience something if you're recording it? Yeah. Huh.
It's, you're right. You're right. And I think that I always think about it in terms of all the amount of photographs and selfies that people take. I have 30,000 photographs on my phone, and I think maybe 200 of them might have me in them. And most of them with my nieces and nephews. So it's not like me just by myself. And I wonder if people look back at their photographs and say, oh, I remember this day. I remember who I was with and what it felt like and what it smelled like and what we did and what we laughed about. And, how many people do that? Or how many people just take a picture and then don't think about their experience again?
Right, right, right. Oh man. Okay. After your epilogue, which was beautiful.
Thank you.
You have a note on trees along the Western Front, and so I want to know if you've read The Overstory by Richard Powers or
I
listened to it.
I've been meaning to read it for so long. And it's just almost like I've been putting it off. I think I have it in my closet, and I just haven't. You read something and you just innately feel it anyway. So it's
Yeah.
that reinforcement. But did you like that book?
Oh my gosh. So I listened to and the audio is beautiful. The narrator is fabulous. And so I listened to it. It's a tome. It's 500-ish pages. It's rough. So after I listened to it and just loved it, and I know you would love it because it is written beautifully and you are a lyric writer.
Thank you.
You will love that about it. After I listened to it, I bought the hardcover because I want to read it now. It's just absolutely stunning and beautiful in so many ways.
And that's why we sing to trees.
Yes, yes, and hug them and touch them and learn about them. And again, in the book, The Overstory, I learned so much that I didn't know about trees. I mean, absolutely fascinating. It's yeah,
Well, I'm gonna have to
yeah.
get it and add it to my list of to be reads.
Or listen to it while you're hiking hundreds and hundreds of miles, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, why
that's
not?
yeah, yeah. So you say that this is a love letter to France in a way. And again, you bring up the food, the culture, the people, the language, the architecture, all that. It's you have so much in this little book, and it is kind of a little book. I mean, what you have fit in here so beautifully is a lot. And so it is a love letter to France. I want to go back there again. Will you move there?
I want to. I want to. I'm there in my heart, but I also love Spain too. So the way I feel about France is softer, and the way I feel about Spain is like that like passionate love affair that you don't know if it's going to fizzle out or last forever, but it's being over there and being among the cathedrals and being among the people and feeling the vibrancy. Yes, I would love to move to France, and I'm just trying to get there. But I want to get this book off the ground a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I hope I help you get it off the ground. It's incredible. What else would you like our listeners to know about your journey, about your book, about what what they should do next, how we could evolve, how we could stop wars? Is that an easy question for you? Just
Yeah.
how?
Uh, Once
Tell us
again, we
more.
can all be like Buddha sitting under the tree and just be like, nothing else exists except for this moment and be in the present, which is not realistic.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, you have to in order to stop wars at large, I think that we have to stop the wars within ourselves as well. It's the battles that we fight with ourselves, and it could be a small battle, like, oh, should I have a third cup of coffee, or do I eat this cookie today, or is it I'm going to get super frustrated that someone responded in a way that didn't wasn't the response I was looking for, or I'm not, or I'm going to be incited by someone's comment on social media, or I think that until we are able to not deflect it, but become less reactionary in ourselves, we're always going to see war.
How did your almost 500 miles of walking, how did it change you?
I probably lost like 5 pounds. No, I was kidding.
Even after all those French baguettes
Oh my gosh.
and all.
No, I've stayed the same way since I was a kid. But how did it change me? I went out more hopeful, and I think that just going, they say there's a line in All Quiet on the Western Front. This war has ruined us. And I think that walking along the path of the Great War, it ruined me in so many ways, because how could it not? You're experiencing the deaths of millions of men and even villages and people that were in the harm's way. But I'd still like to think that I have a glimmer of hope, that I still am one of the hopeful in the world, but I think it's more rooted in realism. It's more rooted in actuality of, okay, not everyone has the ability to walk 500 miles across France. What can they do in their everyday lives to become the peace that we seek? So I've
Yeah.
been working on that. What is a healing journey? Does a healing journey something that happens individually? Is it something that happens collectively? Is it something that happens a give and take between the two, you know? So I think
Mhm.
it changed me in the way that I'm more at ease in the world, and I want less chaos, and
Mm.
I've invited less chaos. So it's a work in progress. It's something that, it's not an everyday occurrence, but that if you don't accept chaos in your own life, then maybe that projects to the world.
Mm. Mhm. I like that. Listeners out there, the author, Briana Gervat, her book, There Will Come Soft Rains, uh, stunning book. Get it? I will have links below to all your social media sites. Um, Give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions for Briana, please type them below and I'm sure she'll answer them. Like and subscribe to my channel. And Briana, to echo your words that you have throughout the book, thank you. Always thank you.
Thank, thank you, Laurel. Thank you for seeing me.